Hello, lovely people. I am here live from Toon Boom HQ on Twitch and on YouTube. My name is Mel, but some of you might know me as Z Birdbrain on YouTube. And I am here today to entertain you for the next hour. So today's subject is learning animation. And just by the way, I am hearing myself double. So maybe there's something that needs to be done about that for people running the stream. But in the meantime, as I said, we're going to do a stream about learning animation. It's going to be super fun. I am joined today by an artist by the name of Gus. And as usual, little rules just so that everybody's happy together and making friends. As usual, we are here to answer questions that are related to the subject. So today is learning animation. We know a lot of you have often questions about like rigging and master controllers and 3D and stuff. Great questions. We just might not answer all of them today because it's not like in the subject. But every question is welcome. Of course, please stay respectful, stay nice. We're not going to delve into any kind of like NDA business. So that's not even worth asking. And the stream will be available for VOD in the following weeks if you want to see that on YouTube. And in the meantime, you're always free to write into the chat. I'll make sure to check out what everybody has to say. And without more wait, let's get started. So, as I said, today's theme is learning animation. Yes. And we are very grateful that you accepted to come over here today to talk to us. So, can you introduce yourself a little bit to us? Like what do you do, where you're from, how did you learn animation?
Of course, yeah. Like I said, my name is Gus. I'm an animator. I've been an animator for about 6 years now. Graduated in 2019. So it's been a journey, I guess. I started out animation in 2015 when I started college. I studied Sciences of Digital Animation in Atlantic University in Guaynabo, Puerto Rico. But since before that, I've been obsessed with animation. Like since I was a kid, I used to love all the classics. And that kind of led me to pursue a career in animation. And here we are. I mainly focus on animation cleanup in Toon Boom. So I mainly do the line art and the color art for animated shots. I also, of course, do some rough animation and some storyboarding as well. And yeah, I just love all this animation stuff.
Fun time.
Yeah.
So, okay. A good one to get us started. What do you think are some common problems that can occur when we are trying to learn animation, either in school or on our own? Like, what are some common little things we can face that are hard to combat, hard to go through?
Yeah, I mean, animation is just hard.
It is 100%. Let's be honest about it. It is very hard.
It's incredibly hard, yeah. And, sometimes it can get a little daunting when you're starting out.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Daunting, like there's too many things to learn?
Exactly, yeah. Just the scope of it, I guess. Because a lot of times when I tell people about what I do and, like, I explain what animation is, they always seem to get, like, shocked when I tell them that animation takes, like, 24 drawings every second. And just the thought of having to do 24 drawings is incredibly daunting. But yeah, just there's a lot to learn about like the principles and just what software you want to use. So I feel like maybe that's sort of like the barrier to entry, I guess. It can be a little scary for some people. But once you start, it's just a matter of practicing, I think.
Yeah, and I'll vouch for what you're saying about the scope. That is oftentimes not something people talk about. They often say like, oh, like it's hard, learn to draw and stuff. But yeah, animation is so daunting because there is a lot of things to it. There's timing, there's knowing how to draw, there's different ways to do animation, from stop motion to rig animation to hand drawn animation. There is so many. So I think we both agree on this one. If you guys are looking into or starting out learning animation, I think the biggest advice we can give for that is take it one small bit at a time. Like, don't try to do everything at the same time because you're just going to lose yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like that is something that a lot of beginners kind of struggle with, is that, of course, you see these like flashy animations online and you really want to get into animating like really cool fight sequences and stuff like that. But sometimes you got to take it like one step at a time. Like learn the basics before you jump into the deep end.
Jump. And some people don't realize too that there's many types, like even for the same medium, like hand-drawn animation or I mean 2D animation or 3D or stop motion. Like even for a specific one such as 2D animation, animators come in all kind of flavors. People do more realistic style. Some people are better at the cartoon style. But even in that, we can separate it into different branch. You're gonna have character animators. You're gonna have more like emotion animators and active animators and effects. So there's so many things, and don't try to be a specialist at everything all at once. So just take it small bits. You like effects, do effects. You like characters, focus on characters more. And as you go, you can kind of add more tools to your belt. At least that's how it went for me.
Yeah, for sure. Same for me.
Nice. Another question that is always so interesting is that we don't talk enough about. What are some because now we talked about like animation specific things, but what are some non-animation related skills and knowledge that you can benefit from learning if you want to be a good animator? Like non-art skills.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think the biggest thing, and something I teach in my classes, is the social skills. I guess the soft skills I feel like are very important. Things like communication and like teamwork. Because most animation productions are a team effort. And I feel like being able to, give and receive feedback, to work with other artists' style, I feel like that's kind of, and maybe you kind of don't think about that while you're learning animation or as you go, I guess.
Yeah, it's so important. Like you mentioned the soft skill, but for some of us who might not know what a soft skill is, what are some examples of a soft skill?
Yeah, for sure. Soft skills are, well, okay, let's start with hard skills, I guess. Hard skills are more technical skills that you acquire while as you practice animation. You're going to learn about the principles. You're going to learn about the softwares that you use, the different techniques that are specific to animation. Soft skills are essentially everything else. Skills that help you,
like communication.
Yeah, in a professional manner. Yeah, communication, teamwork, organization, stuff like that.
Yeah, one of the few soft skills that I think are really important for animation. Of course, there's social skills, like learn to talk to people, but also learn to kind of get and accept like critique in a way. And by this, like accepting critique doesn't mean just sitting through it and just take it in everything. It means to listen, but also be able to make the part of things. Because if someone looks at your art and says it looks like garbage, you take it in, you digest it, and then it's up to you to accept which part is actually garbage and which part is not. Because, as rude as some comments are, sometimes they're based in truth. But if someone looks at your art and say it's garbage, you're allowed to disagree, to continue this, to listen to that. Be like, okay, you get up and you leave. But if someone is actively critiquing your work, being like, oh, Well, I think that painting the character's feet in this dark color can make them look a bit more heavy than what you're trying to showcase. Dumb example, but if you go like, but like my style is to draw characters with like very, very black shoes that you're not
Yeah,
receptive. So it's about being receptive, but being able to tell when it's a safe situation to be, which is all soft skills that we learn by practicing them.
and that's something I really like to teach my students is that you really have to learn how to interpret and take all sorts of feedback. Like someone will say a rude comment about your art, but you sometimes you just gotta take it and try to interpret it in a more productive way.
Yep. And another one also that we don't talk enough is I don't know how I would put it in English, but like professionalism in a way. Whenever I teach to the students and they have assignments, I know that sometimes things come up and they can't deliver the assignment in time. I am very brutal when it comes to that. Like I do take away a lot of points from assignment, but I am also someone who's very lenient if you warn me in advance.
Of
So
course.
if something happened, like I don't know, something happened and you tell me, hey, I know the project is due in 3 days, but something come up, can I hand it off the day after because of whatever reason? I will listen and usually be pretty lenient about it. But if someone doesn't deliver me the work and I have to go ask them where the heck the work is, I'm like, well, something happened, so I was not able to deliver it, then I will be very penalizing. But that's because that's how it works in life, right? Animation industry or not.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Um,
Deadlines are super important, and
yep.
it's better for them to get in the habit of meeting those deadlines, or at least communicating when we're not able to meet the deadline.
Yeah, because the most important thing about this is the communication part. Because with the same kind of situation, if the student goes, I will not be able to make the deadline in 3 days, what are my options? Usually they'll be
Mhm.
like, can I hand it later? And sometimes it's yes, but sometimes as a teacher, the grades are supposed to be in on the next day, so I cannot accept it further. So I'll be like, to me, it's impossible to accept it further. So deliver me something that is maybe less good, but at least
Mhm.
I'm not going to fail you, which is very close to what happens in real life. If I have a contract to hand out to a client and I can't make it in time, I will talk to the client and be like, hey, is there any way I can hand this work a bit later? Sometimes the client will be like, oh, yeah, sure. Like, just like, let's say the deadline is on a Friday. They're like, yeah, just hand it on the Monday. For us, it doesn't matter. Okay, but sometimes the client will be like, no, it's really impossible because we have other
Mhm.
people in the deal that really need it on the Friday. So then I'll be like, okay, I will deliver something less good, but I will deliver. So it's always about communication.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Um. Okay, and so yeah, that was it for soft skills. So don't forget, guys, if you have any question into the chat. There was a bug, so I couldn't see it, but now I can see the chat. So feel free to write, and I'm gonna check that out. um. Okay, so about learning animation.
Yeah,
When you are trying to learn something new that you've probably never animated before, how do you go about it?
yeah, that can always be tricky. I Obviously the first thing would be to look for reference, look or make reference of some kind. Obviously, as animators, we use reference for pretty much everything.
Everything.
But especially if you're animating something you're not really confident or you haven't done before. So maybe I'll obviously look for like live action reference to begin with. But if it's something a little more involved or more animated, I like looking at how other animators have tackled similar things before. Just so see if I can learn something that maybe I hadn't considered beforehand. But I think, yeah, the big thing is reference. Just either look it up online or shoot the video yourself. Arguably, it's even better if you shoot it yourself, I think.
I think it depends.
Really?
Yeah.
How so?
Um, yeah. Okay. So I think it depends. And because let's say that I have to do a fight scene, like a sword fight scene, and I am someone who knows nothing about sword fighting. If I shoot the reference and I use myself as a reference, the animation will look bad because I look bad because I don't know what I'm doing.
That is a
And
good point. Yes.
so taping yourself for like locomotion movements that don't require more knowledge than knowing how to walk or breathe, that's good. But if it's something more specific, don't forget that you are usually not the expert. But the good thing is that the internet is full of experts.
Exactly.
So for fight scene, for anything that is very specific, such as a friend of mine had to animate a scientist doing some like testing with little vials and tubes and stuff. And you had to look at some reference online. It's like, I don't know anything about science. And the other thing is, if you're like me and cameras, like recording, like trying to record yourself doing anything, I always end up looking stupid. Like there's no, I don't know, like cameras have this filter on me that just makes me look stupid all the time. So I am not the best reference for me, just because I will do the movement myself great. If I record it, doesn't look great. So if you're like me, my advice for you guys is you don't necessarily need to record yourself, but you can just do the motion and just be aware of your body and your bones. Like if I need to animate somebody rolling, like making a front roll, I did a few years of martial art. I know how to roll forward and jump. So I'll just do it, and I'm just very careful about what happens to my limbs as I do it. And for me to feel the movement helps more than recording it. So hey, maybe you're the same. And there's many ways to get reference.
I totally get that. Yeah. I had a scene I was doing at some point where I was animating someone jumping off a building, and of course I wasn't about to jump.
No, please don't don't do this at home.
No. And I agree. That's where like the online resources really come in handy. But for the most part, for like smaller stuff, I do think that maybe recording yourself has like some value because you have more control.
Oh yeah, 100%. And you can also notice things that you would have not noticed.
Yeah.
Such as like secondary reactions and stuff. So yeah, definitely great tool. Especially today with phones, it's so easy. I know when I studied animation, we had to use like cameras and stuff, and it was expensive.
Yeah, you have a 4K camera in your pocket.
That's crazy just to think about that. Okay, let me just check if there's any questions. Doesn't seem like it. Okay, we're good. We're doing great, by the way. This is amazing.
Awesome.
All the knowledge. We're just spilling knowledge, people. Just take it. Put it in a bucket. Okay, a big subject that comes often when we talk about learning anything, not just animation, but specifically animation. It's always about going to school or finding other ways to learn. And I will not use the word self-taught because I have a big gripe against that term. Because I think the whole self-taught thing, a lot of people use it as like a this big thing of like, I am more cool than you because I did not go to school to learn my things. And I'm like, good for you. But the reality is that people are different. Some people do good in school. Some people do badly in school. Some people do great with books. Some people do better with video tutorials. So my question is, what are some advantages, benefits and disadvantages of, let's say, learning into like a schooling environment in general?
Okay. Yeah. I did go to school. Yeah. And that was my track. And I do agree with you on the self-taught. I feel like the advantage of going to school is that it's more structured.
That is true.
Yeah, sometimes I struggle when I like kind of learn things by myself, maybe watching tutorials and whatnot. Sometimes I struggle with like knowing exactly what I should be doing. And I feel like getting to go through the school experience, there's assignments that are planned ahead, for a reason. and there's a curriculum and there's a syllabus and all that. I really appreciate the structure because it helps me sort of focus on what's in front of me, I guess. Yeah, and of course, I like having access to like professors or teachers that are helping you every
You're
step
like
of the way.
surrounded by resources.
Yeah, exactly. That's like the big thing. You have resources at your disposal that you might not have otherwise. Because, you know, a lot of these like equipment and software, they do maybe tend to be expensive, and that's something you are paying for in the school. And I think, you know, that's a really good advantage. It's a really big advantage, I think.
Yeah, I agree with this one too. Like in a school, what you get is, like you said, like structure, but you also get people to hang with. Like the people in your class. Yes, the school is great and the teachers are great, but the people that are with you in your class are also incredibly useful for everybody to learn together. You're going to learn. So if you let yourself, you have the opportunity to learn so much from them if you kind of like connect and talk and help each other out. When I was in school, I helped a lot of people, but a lot of people also helped me out. So it's give and give.
Yeah, for sure. That's probably what I'm most thankful for in school. I was able to get a really good group of friends. We even started our own little animation group together that we're still working on stuff. So yeah, definitely the community you get to build in school is unmatched.
Yeah, some of the disadvantages of schools, I would say, oftentimes is unfortunately the availability. Like sometimes you live in an area where there is just no quality animation schools, and also the price, which is of course two things that you have to be on the lookout for.
Yeah, I completely agree. That is sort of I guess the big reason why you would go the self-taught route is accessibility.
Because I think if you're in an area where there's like a public college or public animation school, I would really recommend you at least like try it if your situation allows it. Just because school these days have got such a bad rep. People are like, oh, like just don't go to school, learn yourself. And I think that's so unfair to a lot of people who might not do well on their own, that they're just getting like blindsided by what everybody's saying, being like, oh, I had a horrible experience at school. People were mean and it was horrible. And I'm like, well, people have as much bad experience not going to school. It's just less publicized.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So then again, what are some benefits and disadvantages of learning outside of school? Because I asked that because yes, we both went to school, but learning doesn't stop at school. I'm pretty sure we both did some self-taught learning as well, right? So what are some good and bad things about learning outside of a school system?
Well, I guess on the other side of the coin, learning by yourself can be a little bit more flexible. So you can just focus on things that really
a lot more flexible.
Yeah, a lot more flexible. Yeah, for sure. So like maybe in a school curriculum, you go by, like for example, at our school, we go through the pipeline, the production pipeline. So maybe some students aren't really into modeling or previs, and they only want to, but they still got to go through modeling classes, right? But if you're learning by yourself, you can just learn about what interests you the most, and you have full control over how you learn, what time you learn. And I think the flexibility is like a really big advantage to learning by yourself.
Yep. When it comes to me, like for some good and less good things about learning on your own, the other thing that is very, very, you have to be careful about, but also for schools, like not every school are equal. Like not every schools are amazing. Some schools are sometimes don't have the best curriculum. So it's very important to look into what you're buying. May it be a school or self-taught stuff online. But for school, usually it's a bit more vetted. But when you're online, yes, there is a lot of resource, but that's like a double-edged sword. Because then you get a lot of resource. Like there's a lot of video that I see just for Harmony, for example, on YouTube, like teaching about rigging. And a lot of these videos have me twitching a little bit because I'm like, oh, you should not be doing this. But hey, the person have lots of views. This dude just people has a massive following, but doesn't mean that what they're saying is always advisable. So I'm talking about rigging, but this can be like anything. Like just in life, like anyone can declare they're a teacher and start a class, but not everybody has always the best skills at it either. The difference is that usually when you're in a school and you teach, there's like training that is involved with it. Usually, like you're a teacher for a reason, like it's a bunch of skills, and not everybody has such skills. You're gonna have amazing artists that are sometimes the worst teacher ever, and you're gonna have animators that are okay, but they're amazing teachers. So just be careful into what you're buying. Look at reviews, make your research before spending a lot of money on anything, may it be self-taught or schools.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you know any tricks to cut corners when you have to animate something?
Yeah, I just did one right now. I don't know if you noticed.
Please show us. Enlighten us.
No, it's a minor thing. But I think that you should maybe try to reuse where you can, to an extent. So right now I wanted to do a little overshoot here with the jump. So I kind of just reuse the final pose. Let's just start visualizing at the very least. And, I just sort of copied it, pasted it over here. Just stretch them out a little bit. I'm going to adjust the pose, but I think that sometimes we get a little bit too in the weeds drawing every single pose. And it might take a long time to do. So, wherever you can, maybe reuse certain like head turns or certain cycles or a few frames to an extent. Not that everything should be, reused, but to save time, at least.
Yeah, that's a good one. Good one. Oh, and oftentimes when you do rough, you can also copy paste a bunch of stuff and just like skew them.
Yeah.
It's just that usually in cleanup, if you want it to look very fluid, oftentimes it's better not to copy paste and skew, unless you're on a tight budget and you just want to get stuff done. But it will factually look often less great than if you were to kind of redraw it. Unless it's a very close in between, that's different. But in rough, by all means, go all the way because you're trying stuff. So
exactly. And for cleanup as well, I feel like some like tips is just try to use the tools that you have at your disposal to the best of their abilities. Like, for example, here in Harmony, for the longest time before I learned this, I didn't know you had the line builder mode.
Oh, my favorite tool.
It's fantastic. It's amazing. And once I discovered that, then cleanup just became so much easier.
It's so fun. And speaking of cutting corners, what are some things that can make animation more efficient? For example, in terms of character design, how does the character design affect the animation?
Yes. So obviously, character should be animation friendly, as we call it. Simpler the better in a lot of ways. I feel like if you have a production where your characters are very overly designed, or maybe overly designed isn't the right word, they just have a lot of detail, I guess, it can be tricky. So obviously when you're animating for maybe a rough animation, you're going to want to simplify a lot. Break it down into shapes first before you even start thinking about making him move.
Oh, and if you can, that's actually a super solid point. Oftentimes people ask me, like, is my character simple enough? Like, how is my design? Is it going to be nice to animate? And I'm like, you find out. Like, try to take your character and, into these Gartic phone games where there's like, you have 90 seconds, then 60 seconds, then 30 seconds, then 10 seconds to draw the same characters. try to do this experiment with you and your characters, and try to see what is the essence of your character. What is like, if I draw your character in 10 seconds, what are people drawing, right? And you can do it on your own, but you can also ask people to do it if you have nice friends that are going to help you out. And the more you draw your character, some details are just going to always be forgotten. And then it's up to you to decide, maybe I'm just going to not put these details on because they're not that important.
Yeah, I think that's actually super important. Like that exercise of finding out what are the most essential elements. That also applies to storyboarding. That's an exercise I do a lot, where we take like shots. We do like shot studies, and we have like a minute, 2 minutes to just draw the shot. And that's what we're practicing, right? To try to identify what those key elements are. And yeah, for sure, I fully recommend that for characters as well.
And also, if you're trying to learn animation, a big advice is don't start with your favorite OC, like that like rainbow dog furry person you have with all the dog ears and the stripes and the polka dots. Keep that for, I don't know, later. If you're learning animation, start with something simple. And you think a flower sack is boring? So do I. Don't do that. What I prefer to animate is the bouncing ball is sacred, though. Do that one. That one is good. But then what I love to animate is a little jelly monster. It's like a slime dude. It's funny. It's cute. It's got 2 eyes and a mouth. A little Kirby kind of thing. And it's made of slime, so like it doesn't have anatomy or anything. It's just about learning movement. So start small, start simple.
Yeah, for sure. And I fully agree. The bouncing ball is unskippable. You have to start there.
And someone in the chat have a very cool question. So Quenzel is asking, I'm curious, have you or Gus been using animation charts in studios? I will say never once in my studio life have I used charts. I use them for my personal work. But in school, they were completely useless because we were learning. The hard thing with charts is that they only work if you know what you're doing. If you're a student learning animation, like you're doing a bouncing ball, I'm busy trying to know how to animate. Make me do a chart. I'm just going to do like everyone else in my 60-person class. We're going to just copy it from this one dude who got it wrong because we can't understand what we need to chart because we can't animate. Now I'm 31 years old. I do use charts for my own work because I know how to animate and I know what I need. So when learning animation, I would say don't focus on the charts. Just try to learn what the movement is. And later on, get educated on the chart because they are useful. But I will be honest, in all my years in the industry, I've never encountered them. I was always the one being like, hey, we could use charts. People were like, what the heck are those? So that's my brutally honest answer. Not once in any of the productions I've worked on. However, they're useful for like they are useful. It's just that they're not that common in the industry. How about you, Gus?
I completely agree. Yeah, I have never once used them professionally. I just don't see them. Like for whenever we're working on an animation, I feel like, and I don't know if this is the most conventional thing to say, but I feel like animation, at least how I work it, is more about feeling, like how the animation feels, rather than breaking it down into a chart. But again, that's just me. I do fully agree, they're definitely super useful, but I just like you, I just don't come across them very often.
Yeah, because the question was not so much if we think that they're great, it's just did we even encounter them? Because as much as I love charts, aside like professionally, because I work at Toon Boom, I see so many projects, I've seen them on very high profile feature films. Like if you have like James Baxter working on your short or in your movie, he's going to use charts, right? So a lot of, and if it's a very high quality, like hand-drawn animated film, like yes, there's going to be charts because oftentimes the people in charge are from a older generation where charts were all the rage, because back then, if you wanted to make your animation and test the timing, you had to book an appointment to the camera room and scan your animation, so animation was different back then. Not saying that charts are useless today. We're just saying that they're not that common if you do like TV animation or anything you're going to do straight out of school. Because usually if you graduate school, you're not going to work on the next Wolf Walker movie. It's pretty rare. It's not that common, unless you're a superstar. But yeah, charts are great. You guys should at least get educated on them eventually. Maybe not in your first year of school.
Maybe not.
But they're definitely useful, especially if you're working with a team. Because that was my next stage. I was going to say that neither Gus or I encountered them in our animation work. But also we are from the, American continent. I do know that they're a bit more popular if you go work in Asian studios, because a lot of the work is hand drawn. A lot of it is still on paper. So on paper you do make use of charts a lot. And also when you have so many people working on the same scene, the charts is also a way for example, if a studio is the main office is in California and they're subcontracting to a bunch of different studios. Well, the people in California sometimes are going to be putting in charts to make sure that things work and then sending it to the subcontracting studios. So it does depend on where you're located, but I wouldn't say that they are very common, at least into the TV industry. I've barely seen them. Maybe like high profile shows like the one made at, because I've seen like some making of for shows from Flying Bark studio in Australia. I did see some timing charts, but then I also have a lot of high profile animators there. I've seen a feature film done in France where there was like some charts here and there. I've seen some in the Klaus film, but it's usually much more up there than the stuff with the preschool stuff you're gonna work straight out of school, right? So you have time to learn them.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, and Quintel answered in the chat. Thanks for the honest response. I appreciate it. I myself come from a school that teaches charts, and oh boy, is it a real struggle for them. And I think that comes back to what Gus and I were explaining, where it's not that charts are bad. It's just that I don't think, like, if someone is, like, if I remember when I was learning animation, people were saying, like, do the charts. And I was like, but why? Like, I don't know. Because when you're that young into your animation journey, and that's an important part we're going to talk about later. Like, I remember my teacher being well-intentioned and stuff, but they were like, yeah, but just, it's a jump. So just take how much time it's going to take and break it on into charts. I don't know. Like, nowadays, I know that like a run cycle can be like 6 to 8 drawings. I know a walk cycle takes much more. A jump takes that amount of drawing. I know it because I spent years animating and I built my knowledge of timing and sensitivity and stuff. If someone is just learning animation, I think schools are asking too much to the students, the kids. Like, they're trying to learn how to do a bouncing ball and you're putting a chart into it. They're like, I don't know how. Like, okay, when kids start to learn animation, they think it's going to take them 60 drawing to draw a bouncing ball. Like, no, like it's going to take maybe 6. And they're like, what the heck? So I'm not against charts, but I don't think they have a place into like a first year student's animation class. Like,
I agree. I fully agree.
They're like high-tech shoes, man. If you're learning to walk, you don't need high-tech basketball shoes. Like, just walk, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for the question, Quinzel. It was really interesting.
Thanks.
I didn't plan on it. Thank you for improving, Gus. You're amazing. Oh, speaking of which, what are some things that you would have liked to know before started to learn animation, maybe in school or self-taught or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah, I would have loved to know more about just sort of Yeah, this is gonna sound a little dumb, but I would have liked to know about the principles and the fact that they existed.
Oh, you didn't learn that at first?
No, but I had before school. No, I had to take a principles of animation class to learn about them. And once I did, obviously, it opened the entire animation world up to me. But yeah, like going into school, to be honest, I didn't know much about the craft of animation. Like, of course, I knew I liked it, and I knew that it was one of the greatest art forms ever, but I just never sort of took the time to learn about the history or the techniques that went into it, at least at a basic level. Um, so yeah, I guess that's my answer, as silly as it sounds.
I mean, it's not silly. It's very, very, very interesting. I think when it comes to me, something I would have liked to learn before, was that it's okay. Like, you still have time to learn. Like, sometimes we go to school, or we do like this animation program online or follow this tutorial, and we always think we're supposed to get it. But like, I'm an animator now. But then I worked in studios for many years, and I had seniors being like, I don't know how to animate that. I will have to figure it out. And like, everybody struggles. You're not the only one. And yeah, and also something I would have liked to learn before I started learning animation is yeah, just how important it is to that people are going to be there to help you out. Like, you're not alone in this. And yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's very much a journey, and
It is a journey.
Everyone goes at a different pace.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was not able to read my own handwriting. Do you have some advice? Because I know we talked about having some references and stuff to learn, and I thought we were going to come back to this point later. So here we are. We did talk about finding references, but even finding references, it's so many different things, right? Yes, YouTube is part of it, but what is some of your process when you're trying to find references for something?
Yeah, my process, it is mainly the first step is usually like going online, watching videos, YouTube and stuff like that. Sometimes I do like to dip into the old texts, like the animation books that we've all come to learn from, like the Survival Kit and the Illusion of Life and all that. Because there's so much just knowledge there for a lot of different animations, right? So when I'm kind of stuck, like hard stuck, I'll just look at other resources like that, maybe books or maybe like even articles online or like behind the scenes stuff. I really like all that just because it shows us like how the professionals have done these animations, and I feel like there's a lot to learn from them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot one thing about what we would have what we would have loved to learn. That's the thing I forgot, but I remembered. It's a very nice lesson that the old director of my animation school taught me, because I went back to work for them later, and we were talking about like sometimes like students can struggle and stuff, and how sometimes it can be hard for a student because depending on the school. Like sometimes your grades or what you do like can be way less great than someone else, and we were casually talking about that, and then he tells me what a lot of schools don't understand, and that's what I like my school understood that, but I know a lot of schools who don't. So our director told me, he was like, what a lot of schools don't understand is that it takes so many different people to be a studio and to do a work. If you only and that's also what one of my boss at my studio also said, like similar things. They were saying like it takes many different things. If you only have the golden star animators, the ones that are super talented and everything, if you have only that, then you're gonna miss some people who just want to do simpler things, that are there to that like to color frame, that like to clean up some things, and are just some people that are maybe not the best animator like me, but who have a very great attitude and are there to just lift everyone up. So he was saying like the animation is so much more than the hard skill that Gus was talking about before too. So like so that's what I like about the school I went to, is like they would not fail you if your animation was not the best, because they look at the bigger picture. They look at people like as individuals with different skills, and that's what I would have loved to learn before going to animation school. Like I would have loved to hear that from someone, being like, it takes many different skills. It's not just about how you draw. And I hope that this can help some of you guys feel a bit better. Because the competition is really hard. I remember looking at other people being so goddamn talented, and but then there's a place for different skills in the industry, and it's about finding your little way in journey.
Yeah, and I see that with my students. Like a lot of them, like in our school, we have a lot of 3D as well as 2D. So some students are more 3D minded, so that when they get to the 2D classes, they kind of struggle a little bit. And we always try to find the compromise, I suppose, like see how they can apply the skills that they already have and maybe learn some new ones, given what they already know how to do. So yeah, I completely agree.
Oh, we have questions in the chat.
Excellent.
Someone says, any tips for monetizing your animation skills? This is not really related to the learning animation subject. However, it is related to a bit of a soft skill. I don't know for you, Gus, but I know in my school they taught us to market ourselves. Like, how do you behave in an interview, and how do you deal with clients for your work and stuff? So I will accept the answers for that regard. We're like, for any tips of monetizing your animation skills, I would say from a learning animation perspective, learn how much your craft is worth, and learn to discuss it with people. Yeah, do you have any ideas about that?
No, I completely agree. Yeah, it's important to do research. Try to, if you have peers that are also, doing the same thing, maybe they're also professional animators, see how they're, charging. Like how much are they valuing their work at, and you can use that as a point of reference. Also, try to learn about sort of the market that you find yourself in. Like for example, here locally in Puerto Rico, the animation industry is still very much kind of in its early stages.
Yeah, it's pretty young.
Yeah, so maybe people don't aren't fully aware of the value that animation has. So you kind of have to like educate them a little bit. So that's also kind of important. Like try to research where you at, like where you're going to be marketing yourself, and use that as well as a point of reference.
And also for monetizing your animation, it is not the easiest. I'll be honest. If you're going into this career thinking you're going to make a big buck, reconsider. Like,
yes.
Straight up, reconsider it, because it is not the most stable career. Just like many other careers are, right? So if you're going for easy stability and paying your mortgage in 3 years, animation is not where it's at.
Yeah.
Much as like most art or like cinema careers are. You can still, live your life like everybody, like lots of people do. Just if monetizing is the first goal, maybe not. Reconsider. But any tips on monetizing animation skills? One of my biggest tips that I learned in school from one of my teachers, his name was Bernard, amazing teacher. He taught us to talk to clients, and the big advice he gave me was, let's say that you're dealing with the budget. You have to do an animation for someone. And it's always hard to find the price, right? Especially if you're starting out and you haven't done that contract much before. Let's say I have to do something and I want to charge $3,000 for something, like a little emote or something, like a little easy icon. So I tell the client, like it's about discussing with the client, right? So if I tell the client, yeah, okay, so this contract will be like I can do it for $3,000. Now you listen. If the client is like, oh my god, that's perfect, that price is perfect, then you can be like, oh, and also like if you want, I will include this for more money. You'll be like, you know, if you want, I can include like 3 retakes, like 10% retakes. Of like you add stuff and then you say, and it will cost this more. Because if the client was like, oh, that's so cheap, that's so nice, then you can be like, also this will cost more money. And usually the client will be like, okay, yeah, that's cool, because it was still in their budget. But flip side, if I go, okay, this will be $3,000, and the client's like, oof, this is a bit too much for our budget. And not because they're trying to be mean. Sometimes that's just how it is, right? If you want to redo your kitchen and your budget is $15,000 and the contractor says it's going to be $20,000, you're like, oof, I don't have that money. Okay, so I just want to remove the evil part from this. Like, not everybody's out there to scam you. Some people are, not everyone. So if you say 3,000 and the client is like, oh, that's a bit too much, then you have 2 choices. You can try to be like, oh, but I forgot to say that this includes this and this and that. Maybe you say it includes the retake, it includes the delivery, and it includes, I don't know, whatever gimmick you want to put. Sometimes it'll be like, oh, then I'm getting more for what I was paying for. Okay, this is good. So this is if the client still had the money, but they didn't want to spend all of it, but they had it, so that's good. But sometimes the client will be a hard no, but like, I do not have $3,000. The best I can do is like 250, 2,500. So then you can be like, okay, then I will remove this, or maybe like I'm gonna remove the shadows, I'm gonna simplify this design. So it's always about a discussion, but listen to how both ends are reacting. So if you lowballed yourself, sometimes the client will let you know, and then you can be like, oh, then it's time to get back, right? And I say it again, not every client is in this to be evil. Everybody's just trying to get their stuff done, right?
Yeah.
But some people are trying to take advantage of you. You have to be careful.
You do, yes.
And Julian Melendez says, wow, Gustavo Agosto is so talented. And I agree. Like, I've been watching that little frog appear. I don't know how you do it and you still talk. It's so freaking cute.
Thank you.
And speaking of your glorious animation, how does Harmony help you in your projects into making it a bit easier?
Awesome. So this is where I'm going to start gushing about Harmony. So I just think Harmony provides, honestly, the best tools for what I'm doing. Just the fact that most of the brushes are vectors, just that alone saves me so much time. Because it gives me more control over what I'm drawing, and I don't have to stress about having to draw the perfect line or whatever. And other stuff like the line builder tool, like I mentioned earlier, is just incredible. And I don't know, I just think it's a very accessible software that really helps me to sort of just start animating. Like, I don't really have to worry too much about what I'm doing. Sometimes it just
do it.
It just lets me go, yeah. But yeah, I would say it's mainly the tools that it offers that I just haven't found anywhere else, and I just think it's the best thing. You can ask my students. All the time I'm gushing about Harmony and how they should be using Harmony in class.
Nice. What are something that you wished Harmony did to help you in your project? We're honest here. Like, one thing that I would love personally is if I could use the light table option. If I could use this during playback. Still not possible now, but if someone's hearing me, please make it happen. So what are some of your wishes for Harmony?
No, I hadn't even thought about that, but now that you mention it, I completely agree. Yeah,
right?
That would be great. Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah,
But
but
jokes aside, Toon Boom does have a big feature request list. They are listening to everyone. There's just millions of you out there, so they're trying their best. Okay, this is my petty request. Everybody has their petty request. Okay, so what is your petty request, Gus?
actually, they recently added it with the latest update. Every class, all my students will always ask
Is it a
if
symmetry guides?
symmetry guide. Yeah,
Yes, I fought
yeah,
so hard for that one. I'm glad you like it.
yeah. It's fantastic.
It was one of my personal petty requests, and I brought it through.
Well, I'm glad it's there because it's honestly it helps a lot.
I'm glad it helps. So if you guys didn't know, Harmony 24 came out in June, and we added a bunch of new features, including these glorious symmetry guides that are very helpful. Hey, we're almost at the end. This goes too fast. Oh my god.
It does. Yeah.
Wow. I really like to end on this question where we ask, do you have an advice for artists going through bad art period? You know, when you're just trying to animate that. Oh, okay, wait, that frog is so cute. Can we watch it?
What?
Keep playing with it. I want to stare at it for a second.
Oh, okay.
Oh, this is glorious. It's so beautiful. Wow. I love it. So as I was saying, you know, if you're trying to animate something, it just doesn't work. What do you do?
Yeah, so we all go through those sort of slumps, right?
We all do. I insist on it.
Of course, it's just part of it. It's the artist experience. Sometimes I feel like it's best to sort of step away from it for a while. I think that
touch grass.
Literally, yes, go touch grass. I think that sometimes stepping away and doing something else, maybe something that's not even art related, like maybe like doing a hobby you like, maybe reading a book, watching a movie, something that can maybe even inspire you, completely unrelated to what you're doing, helps a lot. Like just having that mental reset, will help you like sort of clear your mind, and then when you come back to it, then that spark will be there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So don't feel bad if it happens. You know, we all go through it.
And I have the same advice. Just go take a walk, go do something else. Yes, something that might inspire you, but also just something that you enjoy. Like go cook, go do something.
Yeah, exactly.
And just come back to it later. Because if it really doesn't work, I mean, unless you have to deliver this in like an hour, just suck it up, I guess. Yeah. But like, if you can, go take a break. It's because if it doesn't work, it's not going to work better in 10 minutes, right? So just stop wasting your time and just stop. Take a break. So where can we find you, Gus? Do you have any socials you want to share into the chat?
Yeah, for sure.
If you want, you can send them to me on Discord and I'll post them into the YouTube and Twitch if you don't have them open.
I do not have them open. I'm sorry.
It's okay. That's what I'm here for. You're just here to draw and answer the question. I'm here to do all the comments and the thing and stuff.
Yeah, so my socials, you can find me on pretty much every social media as Art in August, all bundled up together. But more professionally, I guess, you can follow my art group, which is Fusion Lab Studios. You can just find us on Instagram through
That's wonderful. You know, as you're saying this, Janelle is sending them into the chat. You're amazing, Janelle. We love you.
Yes.
And that's great.
Those are my main two social media accounts. One of them is my personal work. Some of it is just doodles that I do of sometimes animations, and the other is our little animation group. We like to do conventions, sell merch, and make our animations. We're currently working on some really exciting projects, so you can follow us there.
Oh my god, that's so cool. Thank you again for passing by and this lovely stream. If you guys want to find me online, I am Marie-Ève Lacelle, also known as Mel, also known as the Bird Brain. So I have a bunch of free tutorials on YouTube that I like to do because when I'm not working for Toon Boom, I go home and I do more Toon Boom. That's my life, I guess. So, but you know, it's not just Toon Boom stuff. There's a lot of just animation in general. And lately, speaking of learning animation, since January of this year, I started a new series about freelancing. So if you want to learn more about being a freelancer and, you know, like standing up for what you do, check that out. And I love Pip, the little frog. That is adorable. I'm a fan. Yeah. So do you have any last words?
No, I mean, thanks for having me. This has been super fun. Hope to come back soon.
I hope you come back soon. And it was a pleasure. And with that, bye everyone.
Bye.